Hey y'all, it's Dell. Today I'm talking with you about this brass boot from Grant Stone, what Rose Anvil has called the best value boot. Very high praise from the man who cuts boots in half. So I figured I've had these boots for 6 months. It's time to share some pretty well-formed opinions about these boots. So Grant Stone is known for using really premium materials in their boots, and this boot is no exception. It's made with Horween Chromexcel, which is black in this particular boot. It has a really kind of beautiful thickness to it. This is an oily, waxy leather. It's black, so the pull-up effect is really not so apparent, but it does make for a very versatile boot leather, as you've probably heard many times if you watch any number of boot reviews or read anything about boot reviews. A very commonly used boot leather. They've lined it in this really nice kip. It's a full grain leather. It's very flexible. It's very smooth and kind of feels luxurious against the foot. I really love the way that kip lining feels as I'm sliding my foot in. The insole, welt, and midsole are all a veg tan leather, non-specified, but that's what it's made out of. The heel counters are also made of full grain leather. Again, not specified other than it's not veg tan like the insole, welt, and midsole, but the heel counter does have a very strong nature to it. It does not give to the squeeze. It really cups the back end of the foot. So a really strong, thick leather there. And the shoe has a cork filler with a steel shank for stability under that foot. All of the hardware is antique brass, and it's eyelets with 2 sets of speed hooks at the top. This pair came with the pair of laces that you see, which are these kind of round, long, skinny laces. They're not like a really tough guy, thick, rawhide leather style, or the kind of braided nylon that you see sometimes. It has a kind of refined look for laces. Talking about the sole, it is a really thick, it looks like a Vibram Commando sole, but it's not. It is a unbranded Grant Stone lug sole made of rubber, which has been very robust in my experience over the last 6 months. I do a lot of heel striking, and it has not really worn in much in that time. The traction offered is pretty great, and I have no complaints about the sole. It adds a beefiness to the look of the boot, which I appreciate. Talking about construction and how well is this boot put together. So the stitch work on this boot, it is a Goodyear welt boot. It is very neatly done, and the lines are very straight, very close, and super even. Honestly, the stitch work on this boot is beautiful. It's kind of funny comparing it. I recently did a review on my whites boots, and those have a charm, and I love them. But the stitch work is hand done and comes off a little bit messy. People commented on that, and I have to agree. The stitch work on these Grant Stone boots is really phenomenal and just super, super duper well done. Also, comparing the two boots to each other, they are really a mirror image. The work is kind of identical in a way, and so that also speaks to a high level of finishing here. Let's talk about size and fit. So my pair is a 7.5 EEE, or a 7.5 triple E. My Brannock size, the size of my foot, is 8.5 double E. And so sizing can be kind of tricky for me when it comes to boots that are not offered in double E sizes, like these brass boots. I actually tried the 8 triple E, and it did not work for me. It was too large. That could be the nature of this particular boot, which has a very wide toe box. It's a generous boot. But I went down to 7.5 triple E, and this size really works for me very well. So I guess if I could make a general recommendation, if you're a double E size, just go one full size down in the triple E, and that'll work for you, hopefully. Okay, let's talk comfort. So obviously boots are not comfortable till they're broken in. For me, it took about 2 weeks of regular wear. I wore them not every day, but almost every day during that initial 2-week period. And they started off very stiff. Obviously when they come from Grant Stone, the sides of the boots are perfectly flat and uniform. It takes time for that area around the heel to form, and that area that hugs the ankles to get a little bit of bend to it and to form these creases that you see on the boots that I'm showing in this video. So during that initial period, it was not very comfortable. It was not incredibly painful, but there was a day where I ended up wearing them the full day and I couldn't find my car in this huge parking garage. And it was, kind of a labor of love moving around this parking garage, trying to find my car, wearing these brass boots as I was breaking them in. So don't get caught like me and have a plan if you're going to be wearing these boots a lot. But after that first 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever it was, they really settled in. They basically have no heel slip, and the nature of that strong heel counter, my foot really gets locked into place whenever I have these boots laced up. There's no tension across the top of my foot. My feet have plenty of space to spread out from my toes, and it makes for quite a comfortable walking experience, to be honest. I really enjoy wearing these boots. And because they're made of these robust leathers, because they have this kind of overbuilt lug sole, they're easy to wear no matter what's going on outside. And I find them a very easy to reach for everyday driver kind of boot. I really like them. Now, from a comfort standpoint, I would say they are not as comfortable as my whites semi-dress in the Archie's 55 last, which I've had for many years. Now that has been kind of a singular experience for me and is the pinnacle of boot comfort in my mind. And they don't reach to that level, but they are still a very comfortable boot. And it only took about 2 weeks of wear to get there. Talking versatility and how can you style this boot, I think it straddles a very good spot for how folks in America dress today, which is you are in a more casual environment. I'm often wearing jeans to work, and you could also wear them with chinos or trousers and they wouldn't look out of place. So kind of the two most common types of pants that dudes are wearing. You can just wear these boots with them and they fit right in because they have this kind of rugged and refined aspect to them, which lets them blend into both types of environments. All right, so let's talk value. Let's talk cost. I do have to insert a caveat here, which is I got these boots for free because I'm active on Instagram and I have a certain following there, and Grandstone offered me a pair of boots to wear them. I have given my honest opinion on them, but you should know I got these boots for free. This boot, the brass boot, in this colorway, the black Chromexcel, it costs $395 direct from Grandstone. Okay, that's a lot of money. How do we understand the pricing here? Compare it to the Red Wing 875 mock toe boot, which is a made in America boot where the leather is sourced from America and everything is made up in Minnesota. That Red Wing 875 is $310 today from Red Wing. So comparing it to this $395 boot from Grandstone, I think that when we just look at the boot and we don't think about where the boot is from, then we can see that the brass boot is a more beautifully made boot. And we have seen that Rose Anvil has cut this boot open and there are no tricks involved in its construction. It is purely just a very well-made boot out of great materials that you have to ask yourself, if you're okay with buying a boot that's made in China, then the brass boot is a fabulous deal when it comes to cost and value, because you will get your wears in on this boot. It will stand the test of time. And it already starts off at a surprisingly low cost for what you get. So I want to step back, give my final thoughts. This is a boot that's really well made. It's made of really nice materials. It's a boot that has a really nice look. I love the look of this boot, and I love the versatility that's offered by its combination of rugged and refined characteristics. I think on a comfort level, it is not the most comfortable boot, but it's also not the least comfortable boot. Maybe I'd rate it somewhere around a 7 or an 8 on a scale of 10. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And there's no rubbing or blisters forming or any of that kind of stuff, so maybe I'm being a little ungenerous, but it just simply isn't the most comfortable boot that I have ever worn. So this is really a great boot. And if you're thinking about the brass boot, I think that it is something worth going for. At the very least, the shipping options from Grandstone are very generous, so you could check them out in person, try them on at your house. And I think if the style appeals to you in their pictures and in these kind of images you've seen in my video, then As long as you nail the sizing, you'll be happy with a pair of brass boots. I highly recommend. Now, do you have a pair of brass boots? Do you have a pair of other shoes from Grant Stone? I also had a pair of their plain toe Blucher in the saddle tan Minerva from Badalasi Carlo. I was one of the first folks that actually had that boot and reviewed it on their website, and you can see pictures of my hairy legs on the Grant Stone site from that boot. What do you think about Grant Stone and this boot in general? I'd love to hear your opinion on this pretty popular brand that's this combo of designed in America, made in China.